is next with monopoly money seemingly flying around the NFL today. The Steelers have yet to reach a deal with T.J. Watt, who's going into the final year of an extension he signed in 2021. Watt won the 2021 Defensive Player of the Year award, and he has led the league in sacks in 3 of the last 5 seasons. Also due for an extension and likely saying thank you, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons. He's one of 5 players with north of 50 sacks since 2021. Parsons has said if a deal can be reached, he does want to stay in Dallas. And arguably the most important non-quarterback in the game still does not have a new deal with the Bengals. Jamar Chase is the 5th player since the 1970 merger to win the receiving triple crown, yet tick-tock, Bengals.
Well, speaking of money, last year's MVP is now set to receive the most guaranteed money in NFL history. Sources telling Adam Schefter that Josh Allen has agreed to a new 6-year deal that will keep him in Buffalo through the 2030 season and pay him a record $250 million guaranteed. Allen, who became the 3rd Bills player to ever win league MVP, had 4 remaining years on his previous contract. So take a second now and talk about just how much money was secured on Sunday. Josh Allen again, most guaranteed money ever. Myles Garrett, most guaranteed money ever to a non-quarterback. Massive deals for both, and guess what? We haven't even hit free agency yet.
No, and we also had this today because DK Metcalf asked out of Seattle, and now he has landed in Pittsburgh. This one comes via a trade, though, in which the Steelers are sending a 2nd-round pick to the Seahawks in exchange for Metcalf. The teams are also flipping picks in the 6th and 7th rounds of this year's draft. Then post-trade, the Steelers agreed to a 5-year, $150 million contract with their shiny new toy. And Seattle now has no one of note left on their roster, which is only sort of an exaggeration because 3 of the 5 longest tenured Seahawks from last year's roster, they've just been moved. First it was Tyler Lockett, then Geno, now DK. The only guys left from before 2020 are the punter and the kicker.
All right, with so many moves popping off Sunday, you know we had to bring in Adam Schefter to provide some context on some of these deals. And Schefter, let's start with Metcalf. There were indications that he preferred to move to L.A., so how did he end up in Pittsburgh instead?
Pittsburgh has been trying to get a wide receiver for a couple of years now, Michael, and DK Metcalf became available. And very rarely do you get a receiver this good, this talented, who becomes available right before the start of the new league year. And so Pittsburgh stepped in and had conversations with Seattle. We saw the Rams sign Davante Adams. The Seahawks weren't going to trade him in division. We've seen the Chargers proceed carefully here. And so the Pittsburgh Steelers were the most aggressive team for DK Metcalf with the Seattle Seahawks and with DK Metcalf contractually. They satisfied Seattle's asking price of a 2nd-round draft pick and a draft pick flip in later rounds, and they satisfied DK Metcalf's price, and now the Steelers finally have the wide receiver that they've been looking for the last couple of years.
Yeah, and you wonder what impact that will have on their quarterback decision, Justin Fields or Russell Wilson or maybe someone else. Let's keep it, though, in the AFC North here, Adam, because the breakup that seemed inevitable never really came to be. Myles Garrett agreeing to stay in Cleveland thanks to a new contract. How were the two sides able to come back together here?
Well, Michael, you mentioned contracts, right? When you're talking about becoming the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history, then that is one reason for a player to change his mind. And I know Myles Garrett had said it wasn't about the money, but we're talking about so much money here. And I think that as he thought about it and as the sides continued talking, the Browns general manager, Andrew Berry, Myles Garrett's agent, Nicole Lynn, sat down. They were able to talk through some of their issues and differences. And again, when you're talking about a 4-year deal with that much money involved and the guarantees of $143.5 million, it certainly makes it easy to want to come back to Cleveland rather than have a long, protracted situation that could have tested Myles Garrett's patience, and we could have seen how dug in he actually was.
Yeah, it's never about the money until it's about the money. Josh Allen, speaking of, voted the league's best player this past year. Now he's set to make more guaranteed money than any player in NFL history at $250 million. But with 4 years remaining on his contract, why did the Bills feel compelled to do this now?
I think they're getting out ahead of it, right? You tie Josh Allen down through the year 2030. You give him 2 additional years. And I think by locking him in, you also keep your player that much happy. You have him adjusted to the market, and he's contractually tied to Buffalo for the next 6 years. And so there's an advantage to that when you know you have a player who's the NFL MVP, who made as many plays as he did, who's not going anywhere. And so the Bills felt like this was a wise move to move forward with Josh Allen. I think it actually even provides some salary cap relief, and you lock in the reigning NFL MVP through the year 2030.
Now the question is, can they go get him a receiver for this upcoming season? Look like it's going to be a busy week for Adam Schefter. Talk to you soon.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Lot of activity in the National Football League. Josh Allen, who of course won the MVP, has reached an agreement on a record-setting 6-year, $330 million contract through 2030, which includes $250 million guaranteed. Sources told ESPN's Adam Schefter on Sunday it is the largest guaranteed total ever given to an NFL player. Of course, there is still that last hurdle to climb to get to the Super Bowl, but Allen put the MVP on the mantle this year. Most guaranteed money in a single contract, distinction previously held by Deshaun Watson by Cleveland. We know that was a complete catastrophe. Dak Prescott, I should say, got $1 million less than that. Joe Burrow is fourth with $219 guaranteed. Allen's yearly salary comes out to $55 million, tied for the second most behind only Dak Prescott's $60 million. A lot of news at the receiving front after being traded by the Seattle Seahawks to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a second-round pick. Adam Schefter reporting that. It is a big-time extension, 5-year, $150 million contract with Pittsburgh. He had requested the trade on the 5th of March. Devontae Adams, meanwhile, heading to the NFC West after signing with the Rams on a 2-year deal. He's one of 4 players with 1,000 receiving yards each of the last 5 seasons. Then there's this one. I want to win and I want to trade. Wait, how much money? Cleveland and Myles Garrett agree on a deal which averages $40 million per, including $123.5 million in guaranteed money, making him, I would say, deservedly so, the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. Since entering the league, his 102.5 sacks trail only T.J. Watt in Pittsburgh, who has 108. So Myles is going to stay in Cleveland. And Adam Schefter joins us now. And we're battling the shot. We know what you look like, and we're going to listen to your sweet, dulcet tones as it relates to the information here. For Pittsburgh, you got Metcalf to catch the ball, but who's going to throw him the football, Adam?
Well, Scott, that's the question right now. That I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are waiting to answer it themselves. They've been talking with Justin Fields, trying to get a deal worked out. We'll